Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. This is Fish Room Vlog number 30. It's hard to believe I've already done so many of these. I started this series in the spring during the big lockdown, and now here we are near the end of the year. And I don't know about you, but I am definitely looking forward to seeing this year in the rearview mirror, and hopefully next year will be a lot better. Now, I started off with this clip because the last video I did the DIY failures with the rainforest build, and this is the anubias plant that was in that. You can tell because those yellow leaves at the bottom used to be at the top of this thing, and since I put it in here, it has grown all these nice new leaves, and it is definitely much happier. Now this clip, this is the sink I put together, and when I first put this together, I was starting my little war on duckweed, trying to get rid of it out of the fish room, and I would fill this thing up from one tank. This is all the duckweed from every tank in my fish room, so I think I might be winning finally. There is one other tank that I have that has some duckweed in it, but that's a different experiment I'm running, and you guys will get to see that hopefully by the end of the year, but it might be in January. We'll see how that goes. I'm really happy about these next couple of clips because as things begin to open up after the lockdown, the pet stores were a little light on fish. They kept their inventories fairly low for obvious reasons, and I went around and tried to find as many different varieties of fish I could from local breeders. I ended up getting a hold of this group of kribensis. Now, I didn't want to do any inbreeding as much as I could avoid it, so I went to every pet stop that I could and tried to find good quality kribensis. And believe it or not, in the entire city, I only found one female that I thought was, a good quality fish that I could use for breeding. So I put her in here with these guys, and I was hoping that she would pair off with one of them, and she did. So once I saw that they liked each other, I put in a terracotta tray and a half pot that turned on its side, and they set up home in there, and as you can see right there, her ovipositor's down, so things are looking really good. I also put in some Java ferns, you can see, in some vallisneria to give them some cover, and hopefully they will do their thing and have some babies. And I don't think I've ever had a pair of kribensis that was a bad parent, so I don't think there's going to be trouble with this, and this is going to give me a nice fry for future setups for people. And the kribensis are actually quite good this way. They're not horribly aggressive, and they do fit in community tanks. And once these guys get really established, I'm going to set them up in their own tank above or on the other side, so that way I can get a fair amount of fish off them. The next few clips are an update for the paludarium build. I know I haven't really shown you too much about what's been going on with that. That's for two reasons. The first reason is the cap I had put on it is in 1/8 inch acrylic, and the removable lid doesn't really have a whole lot in the way of bracing for it, and I was waiting to see how much warping was going to happen, and it has started to do that now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make some bracing for it to keep it nice and straight, because I do want, of course, to keep the humidity levels in there as high as possible. So it gives me a chance, of course, to use the new bandsaw, which is always nice. And the nice thing about this thing is, of course, is I can do stuff like this. I did the original cuts, the two long straight ones, on the table saw, but I can't really do, obviously, any kind of turn like that. So that is a great benefit to have that now. That's just something really kind of cool. And that is the thing I'm going to be correcting. It's not a big bend right at the moment, but it is more than enough to give me about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of a gap in one spot, and that is too big a gap. Like I said, I want to keep the humidity really high. So what I'm going to do here is just going to weld this on, and I'm going to weld one on the other side, and then I'm also going to weld on a handle. So I'm going to show you me cutting that as well, because I also want to try out trying to do, not exactly straight cuts. I mean, these are just straight cuts, so it's quite easy to do. I wanted to try out some other stuff with the bandsaw as well. So while I'm gluing this up, one of the things I want to mention is, as I had mentioned in the last video, I have crossed over 13,000 subscribers, and thank you ever so much for that. I mean, it just astounds me, to tell you the truth. And as I mentioned in the last video, is I am going to be doing a giveaway. One of the things I have decided with that giveaway is what that is going to be. But of course, now that I've told you that, I am actually not going to tell you what the thing is I'm going to be giving away. Sorry about that, but you'll gradually figure it out, I think, as these videos progress. It is something I'm really proud of and happy about, and I think it's time that someone else tested it out a little bit in a real world situation and see how that all goes. And so anyway, that's going to be coming up. It will be the last video in the year, so that'll be, actually I think it's actually no, that's actually not true. It's going to be New Year's Day, actually, yeah, because that's Friday, and that's going to be the 1st of January. So that's going to be when the draw is going to be. So we will do that then. There will be plenty of time for you guys to get in on this, so don't worry about it. And one of the things I want to do, or should I say, I don't want to do, is that video. I'm going to mention, like I said, it's going to have lots of lead up to it. And the last time I did an open one like this, I ended up with, I think, almost 300 entrants. So I won't be answering comments for that video because it just takes way too long. So here's the removable cap with all its bracing on. It's nice and straight now, and as you see, the humidity is building up nicely. And you may have noticed in the last clip I was trying to put some finger holds on that handhold, but it didn't work out. The blade I'm using is not fine enough. It's too wide, and it just didn't work out, so I sanded it all off. But that's okay. I'm just testing things out here. Now, the other reason why I haven't shown you too much in the way of updates for this is because a number of commenters thought that there might be issues with mold and rot on the wood, and so I wanted to give it a couple weeks at least to see how that was going to go. And as you can see, it is doing perfectly fine. Another interesting thing I noticed, because of all that moisture back there, the pond snails have started laying their eggs out of the water. I mean, it's a nice survival trait for them because, the fish can't eat the eggs that way. But it's actually, this is the first time I've seen them do that. So this is the centerpiece. Sorry for the cloudy water, but I'm doing an awful lot of work in here, and the filter hasn't really had a chance to clear that up. But it's doing quite nicely. Obviously, this is one of those long-term things, and we'll have to see how that goes. And the other thing I need to do, of course, is actually plant something in the top as well. Speaking of long-term projects, it's time for the weekly update on the plant growth experiment with the different substrates. And I'm getting at the point now in this build, or sorry, setup I should say, that I'm making my decisions on things that I prefer, and definitely, as always, leave comments below as to what you think. But first off, I am not seeing any difference whatsoever with the high humidity planters. They're pretty much identical. Now, there are going to be some small differences, but nothing at all what I would call remotely significant. And as far as that goes, the significant difference, if there is any, between this, the gravel one, and the other two, it's not enough from a fish room point of view. But as Fred pointed out, if I'm going to be setting up things such as the paludarium that I'm going to be building in the new year, having a slightly faster growth rate for setting up plants for that is a good thing. And in that respect, the soil build, this one here, is probably good enough for that. Because, I mean, you can see the Vallisneria is doing really well. The red Luigia and everything else in this, for that matter, is doing quite well. Except, of course, for some reason, the substrates does not like this environment. I suspect it's tannic acids. But as someone mentioned earlier, they were concerned that the tannic acids also be a problem for the guppies, but I'm not seeing anything with that at all. But then again, of course, because of this experiment setup and the way it's done, the weekly water changes and the bit of coral I have in there is probably enough to keep ahead of that. So for a client, I wouldn't set this up, but for setting up, like I said, for the fish room to get plants ready for that sort of thing, it is definitely a possibility and something I'm going to keep an eye on as this matures. And as always, before I get to the end of this video, if you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe and leave lots of comments. I definitely like those, and they do set things up. And there you can see the substrates, and this one here is just not doing well. I think I might pop that out in the new year and put it in to the one to the left and see how that does. So this is the commercial plant growth substrate, and my problem with it is not the plants. My problem is the invertebrates. The snails, you can see the little graveyard of snails there, and the shrimp are just not doing as well. And there's obviously something in there that is causing that problem. That is also, of course, with weekly water changes. So that alone would make me personally decide not to use this ongoing. I'm going to keep this running and see how it pans out long term. It might be something that will eventually be taken out in water changes. The fish are perfectly fine. The plants are growing well. And actually, they may not be growing as well as the soil one. But then again, that's again, somewhere near significant. So anyway, we'll see how that all goes. But I had a dead shrimp, which is right there. And that really did surprise me because that doesn't normally happen. So anyway, let me know what you think, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.